Democratic governance, rule of law and the fight against corruption are among Africa and EU's top priorities. Indeed, these areas have a close link with peace, security and development. As the fourth summit approaches, it is important to revisit the ambition of the Africa-EU consensus on common values, interests and strategic objectives. A strong political commitment in those areas is essential to agree on shared positions and actions in support of the partnership.
For me, the most important priorities in terms of taking forward the agenda around opposing corruption and promoting good governance in Africa lie in promoting the rule of law, transparency, accountability, unlocking the potential of civil society to hold governments, institutions, and the private sector to account. So building on the model of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, enabling people as consumers and voters to make decisions that create a zero-tolerance attitude towards corruption. So it's moving in this summit from sentiment to strategy and changing the realities on the ground.
I think the most important thing that we can do is to believe in our own values. And our own values are fundamental rights or elementary human rights. I think we have to discuss much more minimum standards than everything what Europeans want to discuss under the heading of human rights.
The space available for civil society, the African Commission and the court could be a great, but that could have to be extended to the African Union so that civil society organizations, human rights defenders, women's groups could also be part and input the governance structure of the African Union and therefore contribute the partnership in a better way.
In many cases, for example, when it comes to elections, the European Union dispatches its own missions, observation missions to countries. But then you would have also in the same country and running at the same time an observation mission from the African Union. So it's very important to share the expertise between the experts of both sides who are in country to also coordinate their work and so on. So there's a lot of learning process there that exists.
Perhaps the most important challenge is to define an appropriate architecture or framework within which Africa-Europe cooperation around issues of democracy, human rights and anti-corruption can be operationalized. If we have an Africanized democracy and you have a Europeanized democracy in conversation, perhaps out of that we can forge new universal principles and values around issues of how to ensure that the key tenets of democracy, which is representation, which is participation, which is the sovereign will of the people, can be given new meaning that is fit for the 21st century and beyond.